Step one, you say we need to talk. He walks.
Welcome back to Cover Your Assets. We deal with all points on the prosperity triangle. If you're in foreclosure, you don't know how to get out of the situation. Maybe you're current on your bills, you're struggling. Maybe, lucky you, you're prospering, but you're not sure how long you can hold the line. This is CoverYourAssets21.com. A great place to get started. You can check out the Financial Crisis Bible, and it will help you avoid one if you're not in it. We've got Derek Walgrave, Craig Nestor, and Todd Rooker. So, Todd, you deal with a lot of people that really think they're fine. Maybe they are fine, but...
Well, you know, a lot of times people are in denial on some level. The other issue is, of course, many people have never really had a comprehensive budget to determine where they are and make accurate financial decisions because they've had the availability of credit and they've always told themselves, I'll just make more money. It's going to come back. Don't worry. It's all going to work out. And while they're sitting there talking to you, telling you that they're not like your normal clients because they've never missed a payment, they're also simultaneously in what I call a monthly burn rate, where the income that they're bringing in is not enough to cover the expenses, and they're utilizing resources to subsidize making their payments on time, recognizing that whatever that resource is, obviously it's of a finite number, and they are heading towards the rocks, and they don't even know how quickly they're moving, meaning how much of that resource they're using to subsidize on a month-over-month basis. The other thing to recognize is that when people are in what they feel to be an uncomfortable financial situation, statistically they actually spend more money on discretionary spending, not less. So if they're spending $1,000 a month more to try to keep on top of their bills, if they've got $10,000 as a savings account, they would surmise that they've got 10 months. In point of fact, they don't, because they'll spend more money as they become more depressed about their situation. Even though they're making their payments on time, they'll be moving and burning more money on a monthly basis, and they'll run into the rocks faster. But they don't. The idea that they should be looking at their budget doesn't even occur to them during this time.
Todd, aren't people used to refinancing their lifestyle? It was okay to...
You mean they've been overspending their income their whole life? Is that what you mean? That is kind of the American way. We've got people who have always consoled themselves that they make their payments on time. Yeah? Well, look, I'm 50 years old, and I'm going to tell you, I got people who are my age who've seen their homes in their working lifetimes double in value twice. Yet even before the meltdown in 2006, they still had no equity. So how's this possible? Well, they overspent their incomes their whole lives, and every time things would become a little uncomfortable, they would simply refinance the home, pay down the unsecured debt, and start this disaster all over again. They're 65 years old. They've got virtually nothing in retirement accounts. Why? Because, every time they take a family vacation, somebody gets married, the kid goes to college, they liquidate or they take a loan against their retirement account. Now, look, they've never missed their payments, but it doesn't mean they're managing their money well. And in the past, they could make that work because of the ever-appreciating asset, the home, that was kind of a piggy bank to go to. Today, that's gone, and those people who've never missed a payment, who fancied themselves good money managers, are finding themselves in a world of hurt, and they have no idea what to do about it.
Todd, I talked to one of your clients, really interesting gal, another attorney, and came out of law school with a ton of debt, and you helped her, and it was unsecured and really aggressive. It wasn't like the government-funded student loan kind of deals, and you took her from really a distressed situation to where she was able to become a homeowner and everything else. Now, I think a lot of us have the perception that going to someone like you is going to be like making sausage. Is it that painful, or do you find that people come out on the other side and they feel so much better, so much happier and relieved?
Totally come out on the other side. Look, when they come to see me, fair enough. It is the altar of lesser evils, where in a perfect world, every option that I offer up might otherwise really stink. But when a person when a person is able to know the worst case scenario, and of the three options that might be on the table, they know the good and the bad of every single one of them, and they get to pick. Number one, no longer are they losing sleep at night worrying about the worst case scenario, because they actually know what it is now. And then they get to pick. Their posture changes because they're back in control, because they're pursuing their path, which is really maybe the most important thing. When a person comes to me, if we talk about modification, if we talk about foreclosure, or we talk about bankruptcy, whatever it is that we're talking about, look, every person is different. What I do is I give them unbiased information so that they can determine their path with good information. People aren't stupid. If they've got the information, they can make a decision. The problem is they don't know where to get that information.
Or do you find that they're sometimes on different courses? I was at a kitchen table last night where the wife Mama Bear wanted to protect that house, and that was what her whole intention was. Well, Papa Bear wanted to drop the house and move out to the fishing lake. He wanted to go fishing and retire early and drop this thing and get to something that was more affordable. And that conversation had never occurred. And they were spending differently, and they weren't aligned in getting the power of team in that.
When you look at a situation like you've just described, let me tell you what comes to mind immediately. I've got people all the time who will tell me they'll do anything to keep the house. And I mean anything, right? Because to them, what that means is, well, we're going to have to watch our money and tighten our belt. Well, when I go through a comprehensive budget with them and I show them Christmas, birthdays, anniversaries, hockey, swimming, dance lessons, and everything else, and I show them what that costs every single year, and then I say, all right, so look, you tell me you're willing to do anything. So if we get a modification at the ultimate level, let's say 2%, and we look at that payment, here's the things you're going to have to give up. So no longer are they babbling about, tighten the belt. Now I say, which one of your kids isn't going to have a birthday party? And which one of the second car are you going to get rid of? And now all of a sudden the tears begin and it gets real serious. And for the first time, they're making decisions from a position of accuracy. Once we get to that point, then we determine the path and the strategic moves we're going to make. And then I put them in contact with the best practitioners to help them pursue their path. The people that I surround myself with are the best. I don't have average so-so people. I got everybody who's the best, everybody in town around me. I help a person in an unbiased way determine which direction they're going to go, pursue that path, and then I send them to the professionals who really know how to get it done.
Isn't that the most important part almost, is having a target, aligning the family, aligning the resources so they can actually get what they're seeking?
And once you've got everything on the table, now you can actually make the decisions. But a lot of times people don't even know the right questions to ask. I mean, look, it's like the loan modification. So a guy says, I need a loan modification. I say, well, I can't afford to make my payments. And I say, all right, your payment's $1,500 a month. What's the deal? We do the formula. In the first 5 minutes, we figure out that there's no way in the world it's going to work because 31% of his gross income is going to be a higher number than the current loan he's got. Yet he spent 13 months trying to get a modification. And in 5 minutes, I told him there was no hope that was going to happen. You got to have the information before you can make the decision. You have to know the right questions to ask and all the tools that are on the table in your arsenal to be able to pursue your interest.
Well, and there's really no
this way, man. We got a winner.
There's really no magic dust that provides a microwave solution to this. A lot of times it's one brick at a time, lots of patience. It takes some time to come out the other side.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing to keep in mind. You don't build strategies around things that have 20% probabilities. You can pursue that, but you've got to have contingency plan A, B, and C. If I got somebody with 5 different things that they hold to be important in their lives, I'll say to them, which one, if you could only preserve one, would you pick? And they say, well, I don't want to just pick one. I say, yeah, play with me here. And I have them put a circle around it. And I say, now, if you could only protect 2 of the 5, which would it be? And if you could only protect 3, draw a circle around those 3. We just created contingency plan A, B, and C, didn't we?
Well, when you say A, B, and C, so A could be keep the house.
Best case scenario. Yep.
Yeah, and B could be a retirement plan.
Yep.
And C could be whether that's going to college for one of your young people.
It could be preserving the credit. It could be the college education money. It could be the retirement. It could be the business. It could be the home. These are all the things that might present themselves and be on the table. What are the things is the ultimate backup plan that if we circle the wagons and we're in the last battle, the one thing that we are going to keep beyond all else, which one is that?
And Todd, is that a conversation you have with people who are not necessarily under stress as well?
I have that conversation with people who never want to be in this position so that they have ample time to position themselves long before we ever get here. Most of the people that I deal with may never actually be in a crisis, but they want to be certain that they are not. When we had Jesse on here, one of the things that he didn't bring up is that in his in past days in his career, he's actually worked for the banks as well. It gives him the ability to see things on both sides, myself included in that conversation. And so much as when I help people who are in a crisis, it gives me all the ammunition to know how to help a person who's not to ensure that they never are.
Excellent. Cover your assets. Craig, before we wrap up today, it's been a busy, quick show. We've got a shout out.
As you know, Todd, myself, Jesse, we often find ourselves on the other side of the table with a bank. There is a bank out there that's kind of reinvented itself in this opportunity for them to do that. Boundary Waters Bank in Woodbury has been amazing transformation into the customer service they provide for its customers. Vicki Martin at Boundary Waters Bank treats me like a long-lost brother every time I walk in there, says hello. I feel like I'm Norm on Cheers when I walk into a bank. I go, you haven't heard the show. Vicki, thank you for being wonderful, and what your bank's trying to do is amazing transformation in this marketplace. Thank you.
This has been another edition of Cover Your Assets. So check us out online this week, coveryourassets21.com. That's coveryourassets21.com. Start with your free copy of the Financial Crisis Bible. Don't forget the guys will come out to your church, to your business, give you a free seminar. Just email us at coveryourassets21.com. Have a great, safe Saturday.
We'll be fine.